High prospective sixth form students, year 11s. I'm going to be taking you through English literature today. I'm Mr. Cramble. I think English literature is the best subject to take at sixth form. You may agree, you may disagree, in which case you're wrong. Well, it might not be for you, but hopefully you will find a place for it. It will find a place on the course next year. Now, there are three questions that students very often ask when they start finding out about English literature. And the answer to the first question is usually you need to have at least a 4 and a 5 in English language and literature. It doesn't matter which one gets the language, which one gets the literature. As long as you have a 4 and a 5, you can qualify for English, which is very similar to most of the other courses in the sixth form. You're going to need 4s or 5s to get onto a lot of courses. Because English is such an important key skill, both at GCSE and as you're going off to university. We can see that again. So if you have 7s and 8s, that's great. If you have a 4 and an 8, that's fine as well. As long as you have a minimum of 4 in one of them and a minimum of 5 in the other, you'll be fine. The next question is usually about our pass rate. Since 2004, our pass rate at A-level English is 99.52%. Since 2012, our pass rate at A-level English is 100%. We will get you through this course. We will get you a pass. Most of those results are definitely C's and above, but it varies from student to student, year for year. I'm not going to promise you anything, but I will not even promise you that you will get a pass on English literature. But let me just say, our pass rate is 100%. The final question that people very often have is, how much do you have to memorize? Not a lot. There will be some things that you will need to memorize. There will be things that you will memorize without even realizing it because you've been studying it. But for the most part, most of the close language analysis, where you're going to need to be, knowing the text to analyze the language, they're going to be giving you extracts to work with, a lot like GCSE, or it'll be coursework where you are in control of things. So you don't have to worry about that sort of thing. There will be stuff that it will be very, very useful to memorize, but you'll be okay. If you like to read, you will like English. That's the key thing. So A-level English is a 2-year course. We don't do an AS. We only do the full 2-year A-level. We do internal exams at the end of year 12, so we look after those. We set them, but they are basically setting you up for your year 13 exams. There's no real differences or anything like that going on. I am also, in addition to looking after sixth form English, I am also a sixth form tutor, and I will tell you right now, pro tip: your year 12 exams are really important. They're going to be the things that you apply to university with. Those are the results that you're going to get. So if you decide you're slacked through year 12, but year 13, that's going to be the year for you, you're still going to be applying to uni with your year 12 results. So it is not a slack year. It is a year that is really going to matter a lot. The course is divided up into 3 sections. We have 3 components. The exam board calls them. Component 1 is called Drama and Poetry, pre-1900. There will be 1 2.5-hour exam on that. It's going to be worth 40% of the course. On that exam, there are 3 whole questions to answer. These are essay questions. They are essay-based. We will spend a lot of time writing essays and getting very good at it. Comparative contextual study is component 2. Again, 1 2.5-hour exam worth 40%. That one has 2 questions on it. It might seem like a lot of time, like 1 hour and a quarter to write only 1 question. You'll be fine. Don't worry. It will be okay. You will have too much to say by the time you get there. That's generally the case. People run out of time rather than run out of things to say. We're going to have you covered. We got 2 years to cover all this material. Component 3 is 2 courseworks, 2 papers, totaling 3,000 words altogether, 1,000 for one of them, 2,000 for another. That's going to be worth 20% of the course. We'll go over all of these texts in just a second, but here's just the basic outline: 2 exams and some coursework. Now, the first one, Drama and Poetry, pre-1900. Here are the texts. Here's what we're studying. This is another question students have. What are we going to be reading? They say. Now, we're going to be reading Twelfth Night by William Shakespeare. We are going to be reading it in more depth than Romeo and Juliet, and it's going to turn out that as you get older, Shakespeare gets easier. The more that you're able to understand and appreciate what he's saying, the deeper we can go into it, the more you're going to realize how great this guy is. Now, Twelfth Night is a funny play. By the end, when people say Shakespeare is funny, they mean he's funny, but in this case he actually is. This is a play that you will be, by the time you get finished studying it, you will get the jokes, you will understand why they're funny. We see from this illustration, we have it is a story of two people that look a lot the same, except one has long hair and one has short hair, and one is holding a mustache on her face, because it's a play about mistaken identities. It's a play about assuming that your brother is dead and knowing that as a woman in the late 1500s, early 1600s, you don't have a lot of capital about what you're going to be able to do with your life. So put a fake mustache on, you're a boy, and Bob's your uncle. Your uncle is not Bob. The characters have no uncles in these stories. They're not there. Anyways, it's a story about mistaken identity. It's about people falling in love with the wrong people because they think the wrong things about them. The next thing you're going to be studying is The Merchant's Tale, and it is very much a story about the apples and pears and the things like that. It is written by Geoffrey Chaucer. It's written in the 1300s. It is not written in a language you will recognize as English, but in terms of how it's assessed, you will not have to stress too much about the fact that it is written in something that only sort of looks like English. The way that the assessment for that question works is going to be a question about plot, context, rather than memorizing things in medieval English. So you don't have to worry about that too much. It's about an old man and his beautiful young wife and his beautiful young wife's boyfriend. And the last text from Drama and Poetry pre-1900, it's the play An Ideal Husband, written by Oscar Wilde. It is, again, a play you will find funny and you will laugh at. That is a promise. That is a guarantee, cast iron, Mr. Crample promise. You will enjoy An Ideal Husband. It's about the perfect man and how he's incredibly not perfect. I do not know any men like that at all. Anyways, these three texts together. Twelfth Night is studied on its own. It gets two questions. One is an extract question about a passage from it. The other one is about play as a whole. The other two are handled as contextual comparison questions. So you'll be looking at the context about the idea of relationships and love in the 1380s and the 1890s, and how similar those are and how radically different they are. The next section is called Comparative Contextual Study. We read two texts from that. We read a collection of short stories by Angela Carter, written in the late 1970s. She is writing fairy tales, but they're not fairy tales like you might remember from when you were young. They are very much fairy tales for the late 1970s. They are feminists' stories. They are brutal, they are bloody, they are horrible, they are bestial, they are full of blood and sex and all the good stuff that makes literature worthwhile. My next class is starting right now, but we'll go on through that, and a class will just have to wait a few minutes for me to go on discussion and say, are you here? The other text we study is Frankenstein from 1818, written by Mary Shelley, a girl about your age when she started writing it, believe it or not. She was 16 when she started writing it, a little older than that when she finished it. That's how age works. You might think you know what Frankenstein is about. You almost certainly do not. It is about a scientist named Frankenstein who discovers the ability to create life, and then discovers that that is a really bad idea. And then the novel is about him not dealing with the repercussions of what happens when you bring something to life that wasn't living before, and it has feelings and opinions of itself. Both of these novels are what are called Gothic novels. You've studied Gothic, I believe, in year 9. You'll be studying it with much, much more depth. These are dark, weird, strange stories about dark, weird, strange people. They're engaging, they're interesting, they are going to be a lot different from things that you've read before. The last section in The course is component 3. It's the coursework component. The 1,000-word essay will be on Carol Ann Duffy's poetry collection, The World's Wife. You'll be looking at one poem from this collection. You'll be comparing it a bit to other poems, and for the most part, you're going to be writing about the one poem. It's 1,000 words right now. You're terrified by that. I have rarely found a student that cannot find 1,000 words to say about poems from The World's Wife. She is taking famous historical figures. She's taking famous mythological figures and looking at them from their wives' points of view. And their wives are not usually pleased with what they see. The other coursework we have, it's 2,000 words. It is a comparison coursework between Tennessee Williams' play, A Streetcar Named Desire, about I'm not sure how to describe it without just spoiling the whole thing. It's about an unhappy woman who moves down to live with her sister when she no longer has a place to stay, and moves in with her sister and her sister's new husband, and things don't go well. The other thing that's being compared with, it's the novel The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, a story that starts in Afghanistan, moves to America, goes back to Afghanistan, and it's a story of, it starts of two boys, two best friends, a tragedy, more tragedy, immigration, tragedy, going back to Afghanistan, lots of tragedy. It makes it sound like it's a really dour novel, but it's not. It's really, really enjoyable, really, really readable, really, really engaging. It's one of the favorite texts of the students that of the things that we do. The students really enjoy it. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're reading. Now, if you have more questions about those sorts of things, you find me on Show My Homework. I exist there. Anyways, other stuff. So all of this is, why are we doing this? Because nowadays university is costing so much, and English is, there's not a lot of jobs that say English on the front door. There's a lot of jobs you can get with English, but there's not ones that just say, here, English people, come and get them. Well, I mean, English people, that's a whole other thing, because people from England. Anyway, so the thing about English is the skills that are being examined. There's 5 assessment objectives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 5 fingers. It matches up. It's very, very handy. The first one is about measuring your ability to structure and write down an argument. So it's about building arguments, finding a point of view, arguing that point of view. The second assessment objective is about analyzing language and structure, but the key bit about that is analysis. That's the key skill that you're going to be able to take out of English and take anywhere in the world and do things really interesting with it. The third skill is the context in which skills are written and received, because nothing exists just on its own. You have to understand all the stuff about it. The more all the stuff about it you can understand about anything, the better you're doing in the world. Number 4 is about the connections between texts. It's about finding things to compare and things to contrast, finding like, finding dislike. And in this world that we live in, being able to find things that are similar, being able to judge the things that set us apart is an incredibly, incredibly useful skill. And finally, number 5 is able to use different interpretations of text, read from multiple points of view. And it's the sort of thing that's going to help you see the world in different points of view, that's going to allow you to see things deeper, more interestingly. All of these sorts of skills are portable skills that leave English and go out into the world and do all sorts of interesting stuff. Now, how does this complement with other subjects? Oh, it says, don't mention, but worth emphasizing, a broader range of subjects appeals to use the apprenticeship. I didn't change this from my notes of what to do. But the thing about English, ignore the thing at the top, is English is what's called a facilitating subject. Other of these presentations will also mention that there are other facilitating subjects. But these are the subjects that open up your uni choices the widest. They're the courses that every university likes to see on your application. They all say, oh, we love to see English on an application. You know, it doesn't say that you have to have taken English to go do dentistry, but you apply to dentistry and they have some very serious prerequisites involving sciences. But then it's like, oh, and English, we love to see English on that. Now, the fact that every course, almost every course at sixth form requires English to get into the sixth form, tells you about how important English is as a subject. And that doesn't really change when you go off to university. It's not the same sort of thing. We're doing literature here, not just language, but the sort of skills that it brings, the sort of key foundational cornerstones of like thought. Makes English incredibly useful in that regard. English is all about interpretation, analysis, reading between the lines, creating deeper understandings of subject matter. As a result, it complements most university courses because these are exactly the sort of things that university is all about. These are the things they want you to do on the courses. And here we are teaching you to do them well. Now, the skills that you're going to be requiring from English, the skills that you're going to get, it's all about, again, reading with deeper meaning, interpretation, understanding. And reading doesn't have to mean reading a book. You know, you can read a film, you can read a TV show, you can read a podcast. Reading just means interpreting. They're all the things that you do in everyday life, but here's the opportunity to focus more on these sort of key skills in an academic way. So think about it this way. Everyone can kick a football, but it's the sort of training, even before all the hard work that goes into that training, that makes people really good at it. And that's kind of what English is doing. Yes, you do this kind of stuff in your day-to-day life. You can read and interpret things, but the more that you can work on that, practice that, gain these skills and become incredibly competent with them, the better you're going to be doing outside in the real world. Same sort of thing. Imagine you're doing driving lessons. It's being actually taught how to drive. It's a better way to learn to drive than just sort of sitting down behind a car and, well, I saw someone do it once, and learning to drive that way. Same with English. So you might think that you have these skills because you have lived in this world, but we are going to take the skills and push them. English is all about understanding, communication, persuasion, problem solving. That's analysis. And these are the things that when people say, what are jobs looking for in a student? What are jobs looking for in a person that's applying for them? This is the stuff that we're teaching you. Universities, employers want these skills. English teaches you these skills. So last year, the class went on to apply to uni to do English, law, psychology, business management, economics, politics, French, biomedical science, marketing, criminology, nursing, and history. This is just from last year's class because English is a facilitator subject. I'm going to try to do that again. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. It's like magic. This is a whole range of things. We've had students in the past go on to do chemistry. We've had students go on to do IT, all of the sorts of subjects, other than maybe medicine, where you have to be taking 3 very specific STEM subjects. English is other than that kind of thing, English is complementing the whole range of everything. It's the subject that universities like to see. It goes really well for all of you future lawyers. We had tons of people doing law. It goes really along with with law and whatever one you want to choose of politics or history, or you might want to choose might not want to choose law, because a lot of law schools are kind of iffy about that. Start looking into it. It's weird. Anyways, that's kind of it. That's my pitch for English. It teaches you a lot of great skills. We're going to read a lot of great books, and we're going to talk a lot of nonsense about a whole lot of rubbish, and it's going to be great. Anyways. That's it for English. We'll see you in the autumn. Thank you very much.